one that's a little bit more controversial. House Bill 246 would raise the age of consent for medical, dental, and mental health treatment from the age of 14 to 18.
Which side are you on? Which side are you on?
So, we have, like I said, we're going to be spending some time talking about some of the bills that are in the Alabama legislature. And a couple of those bills are aimed at therapists, aimed at mental health therapists. And as some of you may know, I don't know, I don't talk about it just a whole lot, but my wife is a therapist. And she wanted to come on and talk about some of those. So, Ryann, welcome to the program. Thank you for taking the time this morning. Talk to us about some of these bills that are going to be affecting folks in your profession that are down in Montgomery and why they're maybe not ideal.
Okay, so thank you for having me. I don't know how much of a choice you had, but I'm going to start with kind of who I am and what my qualifications are. So I'm Ryann Taylor. I'm Jacob's wife, but I also hold a master's degree in clinical mental health. And I'm an associate licensed counselor in the state of Alabama. I started working with adolescents during my practicum experience in 2021, and throughout my internship and following graduation, and I currently work with adolescents. That's the population I am most passionate about working with. And I'm also going to say any statements I make or any opinions I share are not a reflection of any schools, school systems, school districts, organizations, or boards I am or have previously been affiliated with unless I expressly state so in this discussion. So a couple of the bills that are both in our state house and state senate will really impede some of my work and some of the work of other counselors and social workers in the state that we frequently say we want more of and need, but it kind of seems like we do everything in our power not to make it an easy thing to do. So I'm going to start with the Senate bill because I feel like that's one we can all get behind. And behind, I mean, we can all disagree with and tell our state senator that this is ridiculous, because I feel like anybody with a little bit of common sense would recognize that this is going to just impede the licensure process and make it more difficult for any professional in many different trades to participate in their profession in a regulated way. So, Senate Bill 224 aims to establish an office that oversees more than 36 state occupational licensing boards. So 36, that means around or over 30. And I don't know about you, but I don't know 30 professional boards that go together. And I kind of just highlighted different ones under this. So counselors are under it, social workers are too. But I don't know what you think about this, but athletic trainers, interior designers, private investigators, professional geologists, and electrical contractors are all under this bill as something that would be regulated by the same licensing board. And it proposes that the executive director would be appointed by the Secretary of Labor, who will set the qualifications for executive director. Now, I don't know anybody who has qualifications that would fall under all of those. I mean, some days I go for runs and I participate in Pilates, but that doesn't make me qualified to be over athletic trainers, I don't think. And then I can change a light bulb. So maybe I could do electrical contractors. I don't know, just a thought. Like, if this passes, I'm down for the job because it sounds like it'll pay really well. So the office would collect all the funds of these very disparate boards. So it'd be deposited in one big fund and dispersed as the office sees fit. Don't know what that means. Just like what the qualifications are, I don't know what that means either. And the office gets to decide when the time and place for all hearings for these licenses take place. So that's 36 boards. 36 with licensing. So I feel like if you want a license, you better like buckle up and wait a few years. and that would not be helpful for the profession. So my concerns that you've already heard, I'm going to get a little bit more into it. The process for applying for associate licensure as a counselor is already complex and lengthy. We're required to provide transcripts, find a licensure supervisor, and somehow find a job without the license prior to submitting an application. So the boards meet every other month, and you have to submit it a month in advance. So that means that after graduation, I had to wait approximately 3 months for the next board meeting as I got all my ducks in a row. So I feel unsettled imagining someone that does not have relevant experience or the knowledge of requirements for being a member of the counseling profession, issuing licenses, and being over when our licenses can be under consideration or whenever any ethical concerns come up for a practicing counselor. Let me flip. I have a lot of points that I need to make. So I saw that the context of the bill was to limit bad actors that are not behaving in a professional manner or abusing their power. And one of the things that was brought up was boards running in people's living rooms. I know for a fact my board is not one of those. And I can't imagine how lumping together a dissimilar group of professions would make it more legitimate or more credible. So the Board of Examiners in Counseling is opposed to this bill, as am I, and I believe that looking at this bill just kind of lets you know that I can't remember if it's 500 or 700 pages because they had to list all of the different boards and like cross out that the executive director will do something instead of the board. So if it's over 700 pages and there's all these different things, I don't know how that's going to work out. So now I'm going to move on to one that's a little bit more controversial. And if you put any questions in the chat, Jake, if y'all have time, I can answer any concerns. But House Bill 246, it would raise the age of consent for medical, dental, and mental health treatment from the age of 14 to 18. The only exception the bill proposes is if a delay in treatment would result in death or permanent injury of the minor. Mental health services are labeled in the bill as services, treatment, surveys, or assessments. And it states that no student of a public K-12 school may be allowed to participate in ongoing school counseling services unless specific written instruction has been granted by the student's parent. The bill proposes written notification to parents about school or sponsored mental health services, including information regarding ways parents may review materials used in guidance and counseling programs, as well as ways parents may allow, limit, or prevent their students' participation in programs. So that wording can already let you know that the specificity can greatly, I don't know if the word delay, but cause obstructions in counseling treatment, even if it's agreed to because of the amount of this. I will set out letters and, well, I'll get back to that. But anyway, okay. So written permission shall be specific as to any treatment and not broad in nature, which can be difficult because the different kinds of interventions we go into are, I'd say, broad in nature, like cognitive behavioral therapy. Not sure if anybody's familiar, but it's a lot of what's in like self-help books and reframing your thoughts. And there's a few different ways to engage in that. And I also use Sandtray and things like that. And so should I sit down and be like, today we're doing Socratic questioning. Today we're doing reframing thoughts. Today we're doing doubt labels.
Hey, 5 seconds. Just wanted to say that this is only possible because of our donors. If you want to see more of this, then consider donating yourself at tvlr.fm/donate.
So, and I go back to, so the exception gets more specific at the end, and that's concerning to me because the delay in treatment that will result in death or permanent injury is now specific to a physician's judgment that an attempt to secure consent would result in delay of treatment, which would result in death or permanent injury of a minor. And so that can be limiting and scaring some people away from intervening. So in 2021, the CDC identified that 42% of high school students felt persistently sad or hopeless, and nearly 1/3 of students experienced poor mental health. The CDC additionally highlighted that 22% of students seriously considered suicide and 10% attempted. So, how does this impact you and your community? Seeing students when they begin experiencing anxiety and depression is crucial for the well-being and overall health of our adolescent population. So something I frequently say that I learned listening to a play therapy podcast actually is that you can't teach somebody to swim when they're drowning. So it's a lot more helpful for me to meet somebody as they begin experiencing these symptoms versus the first time I meet them, they're in crisis and they already have suicidal thoughts, a plan, and a method, and they have to be hospitalized. Because after that, it's a lot of scrambling to get students back to stability versus starting in a spot where they can implement practices that will protect their mental health and their development. So, as a child's brain develops, the way they learn to respond to emotions in external situations is crucial to have well-adjusted adults who are able to participate effectively in our community. And I'm someone who's worked in schools with students on a variety of interventions, including but not limited to cognitive behavioral therapy and dialectical behavior therapy techniques, sand tray and play therapy techniques, and I've seen significant progress made in the lives of students I work with. This includes improving mood, communication with parents and peers, ability to cope with difficult feelings, and more. So the majority of students I see allow me to communicate with their parents through a release of information form. So it's not like if a student begins engaging in services, it's like, sorry parent, like, you're out of luck. There are releases of information for communicating with parents about treatment recommendations and when we start seeing students, what progress is being made, and we greatly encourage students to do that. However, the exceptions are for students who would be punished or negatively impacted by parents that are not supportive of mental health. So the internet has allowed misinformation to be spread about a variety of public health concerns, which includes mental health. So we already have safeguards for student safety. I and others in a school are mandatory reporters. We report any suspected or disclosed abuse. We also have limits to the information we can't share with parents and guardians. That includes a threat to a student's life or them threatening others. There would be a public health crisis for our youth if we were limited to only see them in an emergency. And I reemphasize that our goal is not to hide information from parents, but be partners with parents in the development of their adolescent children. However, in situations, like I said, that a parent would be punitive towards their child sharing abuse or considering situations in the home, I will safeguard that right to a child's confidentiality. And I will note that previously, when I have expressed concerns about different situations happening in a child's household, or if I've had to call DHR, I have had parents limit my access to their child. So that's one of the situations that bill could cause. So I'm going to tell you which state representatives are over these bills. And so if you want to listen in on if they're one of yours, please do. So SB 224, that's the one lumping in all these different professions to be under one executive director and some other people that could in no way know all the things they need to know. Are Senator Elliott, Orr, and Gudger. I think I'm saying that right. Senator Elliott is over Orange Beach, Fairhope, Baldwin County. Senator Orr is Decatur, so all of Morgan County and part of Limestone County and part of Madison County. Gudger is Lawrence, Marshall, and DeKalb counties. For House Bill 246, the person who introduced it is Representative Ben Harrison, and he represents Western Limestone County and Eastern Lauderdale County. So I would go ahead and send an email, send a quick call to your representatives, and I've heard that if you send a form email, some of them will just throw it out, which is pretty elitist and snobby because the majority of us adults who are working and we have kids and we have other responsibilities, we don't have time to just sit down and write long emotional emails about our viewpoints on matters, but that's beside the point. All right. That's all I got.
All right. Thanks for coming in, Ryan. And yeah, so the HB 246 is the one that is about that raises the medical age of consent, and the Senate bill is the one that does all the stuff with the boards. Is that right?
Yes.
Yeah, so I think those are, I mean, you said even the second one is kind of controversial, but I think it's really pretty common sense. I think that a lot of people, I think that you have to be able to acknowledge that in some cases, the parents are the reasons that a child needs therapy, and they shouldn't, those children should not be harmed because of that. We should, as a society, be able to intervene in those situations and help them, even when their parents don't want them, when they don't want that, when their parents are abusing them.
And let's intervene before they are on a path to kill themselves or others. The New York Times, sorry, this is like another statistic, but the New York Times shared that school shooters, the people around them are most likely to recognize that something's going to happen, and the least likely is their parents.
Right. All right. Well, I appreciate it. We have in the chat, Anna said, fellow counselor here, as much as it bugs me that it directly hurts us as professionals, and that's a valid concern, it concerns me more about how this will hurt Alabama citizens. So, so I think that's a good point, and that's a great place to end it. So, Anna, appreciate the comment. Ryan, thanks for coming in.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely.
You just saw a clip from the Valley Labor Report. We are live every Saturday morning from 9:30 a.m. till 12:30 p.m. And we pride ourselves on keeping all of our content free to everybody so that we can talk to as many working folks as possible. If you support the work that we're doing, you think that it's important, you think that it's good, then consider making a monthly contribution to the project, and you can do that on our website, tvlr.fm.